On this episode, balance of cope and trench work. Hey everybody, this is The Quarter Show, and today we're going to be talking about balancing out in sales, cope and trench work, the combination of the two, and what ideally your day should look like. You know, when we're selling, there's the trap of sort of getting into just the cope work, and by cope I mean you're sort of just trying to get the cream. You're trying to just sell and close the deals that are right in front of you, the deals that you're trying to take off the top. You're trying to take the cream off the top, but you know, if you cannibalize the cream, if you just spend all your time on the cream and you're just trying to get the cope actions, the deals that can close, you can make the money and make the commission and move to the next deal or whatever, or the ones you can push over the edge, and you don't go and do the earlier work, the development work, the trench work, you don't dig the trenches and do the real work to sort of develop cycles and build it where you've built your pipe and different things like that, then you sort of cannibalize the cream. You cannibalize the cream and you end up with you run out of cycles, or what happens is that you start to whittle down. Maybe there's only 2 or 3 cycles that you have that are now like sort of at that right stage, and they're like the cream cycles, and you then have to invest all of your time, and you get like sort of this feeling of like need to have this deal, need to push these deals over the edge, and that's all you have. And you look at your lineup and you go, you know what? I've got this deal, and they all become stuck. They all become bugged or slow or whatever. And that's a great way to make deals sort of feel slodgy and slow, is to really don't do the deep work. Don't do the trench work and just work cream, cope. And next thing you know, you're cannibalizing the cream, and you're trying to push them over the edge, and things get slow. You don't hear back from people. You're not getting traction. Things aren't happening, and it's a problem of earlier work. You didn't dig the trenches. You didn't do the deep work to sort of plant the seed and all the different stuff that sort of rises to the top and becomes the cream that you could harvest. So great selling, great sales work is sort of a combination of the two. And there's some days where you should dedicate your day, forget about sales, forget about revenue, forget about commission, forget about closing deals, right? Do the work, right? Do the deep trench work, do the deep work, the real work that it takes to go and build stuff up, which is, send out a sales email, hit one-to-one, go through your entire CRM, whatever you use. We use Tectonic here, but you look through your pipe and go through one by one and make sure everybody receives an email, phone calls out, updating social, what promo or what piece of content, asset, video, PDFs, what are you sending out on social, on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram? What are you doing there to drive attention? How are you following your prospects around? Where else can you prospect? Who else can you get to? Past email folders and stuff like that you need to sort of follow up with and touch base with, and just do some of that deep work to really build the pipe, build the momentum and the development work that leads to other things. Make suggestions, call people, give them different ideas, check in with people. Is it their birthday? Do you have current clients that you haven't spoken to in a while? Touch base with them, check in. Take it away from just sales mode and just do the deep work, development work of emails and phone calls out and updating social and doing and sort of building out the base. So then other things, the sort of cream rises to the top, and next thing you know, you have 10, 12, 15 cycles that you can work on that have now become cream, and you can now do the cope work. And so there's an element of like, it's a combination of sort of doing that deep trench work and digging in hard on all that kind of stuff, and taking your attention off the close work and just making sure that you've built the foundation, you've built it out, and you're doing that work that sort of pays off in the future. Right? It's not an immediate gratification. It's work that pays off in the future. It's suggesting different ideas. You have an idea for a client or whatever, and calling them and doing that. Whereas if you just lean in on the cope work all the time, you're so frantic and busy with, I gotta close, I gotta get the cream. that you don't have time for the development work, so you forget about it altogether. You don't have time for the deep work, so you forget about it all the time altogether. But there's deep work that needs to happen, which is like, oh, you know what, I got to call this company, I want to pitch them this idea, and I got to talk to so-and-so, and it's super early, they haven't even thought about doing something, they're not even there, it's super early, so you're just basically planting the seed and putting the idea there, but it's work that needs to happen. And on days like that, you can either block it off on your calendar and give it several hours to work on within every day, or you can block off a whole day and look and you say, okay, well, today I'm going to do the trench work. I'm going to do deep like trench work and do it from bell to bell, and I'll forget entirely about closing deals, about making revenue or whatever. Just forget it. Just turn it all off and just work on deep work. Work on client work, touching base, developing things, doing the real work that's going to lead up to the cream, and from there, then the next day or a couple days later or whatever, you can start working on, dig into the sort of cope or sort of tactical work or the cream work, however you want to call it. But I think about like sort of scooping it off the top, because you have 3, 4, 5, or 10, 15 cycles that you can work on that are now becoming cycles, have now turned into something that you can get wrapped up. And again, you have to balance them out. You can't just focus on one or the other. You can't just do cope cream work and you can't just do trench deep work. You have to do a combination of them both to sort of have a nice steady flow of cycles all the time. And I think it's easy to work on cope work. I think it's easy to work on sort of, I think it's easy to work on cream work, and I mean, it's tempting, it's enticing to work on cream work all the time. But you're shooting yourself in the foot. You're shooting yourself in the foot, and you have to do that deep work, that real trench work, to sort of build a strong pipe and develop things up to where they need to be, so you have things that are working on all the time, and you keep sort of building out that lineup and book of business, and be innovative about where those cycles are. I mean, nowadays there's so much happening with social media and tools everywhere. I mean, you could be on Instagram putting stuff there, and look, I'm not talking about like tinkering around with silly little toys, online toys, and just doing sort of frou-frou work or fluff work. I'm saying, like, be smart about it, be tactical, really look at like what's an innovative thing you can do on Instagram to get some attention from the right thing. What PDF or presentation can you upload on SlideShare? What can you do on LinkedIn? Have you written a blog? Are you sending out a promo email, a sales email to your mailing list, to the mailing list that you've built up? Are you building your mailing list? Do you have a past email folder with different products or services that you're trying to sell with different prospects that you've spoken to? And are you starting from the bottom and sort of being in communication with them? What ideas do you have for your different clientele? When you look at your clientele, are you following them on the news? When you look at like the news and things like that, what's happening with your clients? For us, we deal with a lot of tech companies. So you have companies like IBM and whatever. A lot of large. I don't want to like drop names here on the show, but with a lot of large names, and I follow them all. I follow them on news and LinkedIn and different things. I tend to know what's going on with the clients at all times. I know what's going on with their company and different things like that, and the different news things that are happening with the different companies that you hear about on Twitter or LinkedIn or just Google News and things like that. When you search them, those should be trigger points for you as well. Like, what's happening with them? Is there something good happening? Is there something bad happening? How can you help? What can you do there? And that's also things that would lead into different ideas that will play into what they're trying to get done. So do the deep work, do that trench work, and that's going to lead to the cream. That's going to lead to stuff that you can then close and get done. And it's an overall win-win, but that's a successful sort of framework for building out a strong sales strategy, and you need to be thinking with that. I think it's tempting to get into just cope, cream, because I guess nobody really wants to do that deep work, that trench work, but a smart salesperson, a pro, knows that they have to do the trench work, they have to do deep work to develop a lot of cream, and that's how you really drive big numbers as well, long term, and a lot of cycles that are happening all the time. You want to build a habit of doing both. Okay, more coming at you soon. Again, single or just me, I should for the rest of the week, and then we've got the sales summit coming up next week, so we're probably going to be shooting from the sales summit. That should be interesting. and we'll have the whole team, probably get some other people on the show and things like that. That should be fun. Probably get the chief creative and some other people like that. Don't forget to subscribe to the show. We certainly appreciate it. Hit the big red button that says subscribe. You know, obviously you have to log in on YouTube and get that done. We're seeing a lot more views and things like that, so we're happy with this. Subscribe, follow us on Twitter at @thequarter show, #thequarter, and we will have more coming at you soon. Okay, thanks.